Hello to all my booty seekers and cheek chasers. This is the Carpe Natem Podcast. I'm your host, Nate De La Hoya-Reynoso, and I am so grateful you are listening to this episode. If you're new here, you should know that I believe that my purpose is to uplift, inspire, and educate others to communicate masterfully so that they can better understand themselves and the world around them. I've spent years in the personal development and transformational technology space, and I want to share with you the wisdom that was passed down to me from giants in the industry. So if you're on a journey of self-mastery, just like me, looking to make dreams a reality and willing to be a leader for your family and community, then join me in seizing the butt cheeks of life and giving them a big ol' squeeze. Let's jump into the show. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Carpe Natem Podcast, and I am so excited for my guests today. I have Janessa Carlin here in the studio with me today. She is a comedian. She is an improv. She is an actress. She is a movie producer. She does so many cool things, and she's also the host of the What Is Wrong With You podcast, so I'm excited to pick your brain for a little bit, and I super appreciate you because you actually listen to the episodes. So, Janessa, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be on here. All the episodes are great. I really love all the conversations you have with everyone.
And I'm excited to have a conversation with you. It's your turn now.
Yeah.
What got you into, I guess, show business? Because it seems like for you, all these things have to do with you being in a creative space and also entertaining people. What got you into this?
So I was really shy as a kid, and I'm still pretty shy now. But as a kid, I remember I always wanted to be like seen, if that makes sense. But I was kind of in a way an only child for a long time.
Sure.
I have half siblings, but they lived with my dad. I lived with my mom, and it wasn't until later down the road that I got a sibling. So I remember I would be one of those kids that has their eyes like glued to the TV. And I just wanted to be on Disney Channel. And I remember, like, at the time I had wanted to be a singer. And I think that would be so much fun to do now. But I just, how much work that
It's so hard.
Yeah, I just sing, like, for fun now. But I would put on these little shows in my living room. And I'd ask my family to come, like, watch me. And I don't know, I would do school plays. But I was always really, like, shy to audition for them, so I'd like audition and be like, oh well, just put me in like ensemble.
Sure. Like in the background.
Yeah. And then I got some roles in high school, and I got a really really great teacher who I still kind of talk to her to this day. She moved to Washington. I remember being in her class, and that was like I dressed up as Riff Raff. Do you know who that is?
Yeah. With the braids and everything?
Yeah, just they were like shitty braids. But I remember we had to like come dressed as a character, and like I don't even know why I chose him, but I did. And I was pretending to be him, and like I remember people were laughing at it, and I was like, oh, like
that was the spark.
Fun to make people laugh. Yeah, and then that teacher ended up moving. And then I had a teacher later on who told me that I would never be an actress. And
fuck that teacher.
Yeah. So that was like senior year of high school. I got cut from a play, whatever. Scarred me. I was like, maybe I'm not good at this. Then I had wanted to be a therapist. I had wanted to work in like the beauty industry or something. And it just so happened that in college, I had signed up for community college. And well, at first I had signed up for beauty school, and then, like, as soon as I got signed up, I was like, I don't think I want to do this. I auditioned for an acting conservatory, waited to see if I'd get into that. I signed up for college. It just so happened that all my classes got dropped besides the theater class. So I was like,
it was meant to be.
This is meant to be. And then I figured out I got into the acting conservatory, and so I told my parents, like, oh, I just really don't want to even do anything but acting. And yeah, so they were like supportive of it, but they were like, yeah, we're not going to like help you pay for anything.
Right.
We're not going to like, if you want to do this, my mom used to be like, how bad do you want it? And so I did an acting conservatory for a year. I still train at that same studio to this day. Through that conservatory, I had to take an improv class. And doing that, I was like, this is so much fun, and I'm making people laugh. I remember asking that improv teacher, hey, do you know how I can get into stand-up? Because I had always, like, I watched so much stand-up, and I've always loved comedy. And just, it's always like, I would watch stand-up a lot whenever I'd get sad, and I'd be like, well, they're so good at what they do, but, like, I probably don't know how to write a joke, which I still am trying to figure that out. But I'd be like, I can't do what they do, so I'll just watch through the shadows, whatever. But after that improv class, I was like, no, I really wanted to try it. I'm just going to try it. And so during the pandemic, I took a couple, like, virtual classes at Second City, but those are all...
For comedy writing?
Yeah, and for stand-up, actually, which, like, I'm so thankful for every chance I get to just, like, learn more about crafts, but, you know, that was not it.
Right.
Doing virtual, I'm sure you know, I don't know if you've ever done virtual comedy.
I wanted to start doing comedy during the pandemic, and we had been going to comedy shows in 2019, and we were like, oh, this is dope, I want to do this too, and then I was going to look up open mics, and then everything shut down. So then people started doing these Zoom comedies, and I was like, I don't really think... that's a good, and then I got a lot of mixed reviews where some people are saying it's good, some people are saying it's bad. I know Simply Courtney, he does Zoom comedy for apartment complexes, and he got on an episode, and he was basically saying how he gets a group of comedians who know are clean and who know are appropriate for his audiences in these luxury apartments, and as like a special, I mean, they pay him, but as like a special treat for communities and for places that do stuff for their residents, like little events. He's like, I'll bring a group, we'll make you laugh, it'll be on Zoom, and you know, he embraces that. I've seen it, and I was just like, mixed results, man, because if I can't hear people laughing, I don't know what works or not.
Yeah, you're just like talking to the screen. Right? He's great, though.
He's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I have so much respect. Hardworking dude. That's cool, though, that he still does that to this day.
Yeah, that's like his full-time thing, and he's been pushing it up. When he was on the episode, on a previous episode, he was talking about it, and like, man's got definite hustle, and he's got a story to tell, and he's real funny, and I loved the advice he gave. But back to you, because there was so much to unpack in that story. I resonate with the idea that, you know, we were both only children. We were both only children. We had siblings later in life. So no matter what, even though we have siblings now, we grew up an only child. So that's kind of like the mentality that we maintain. Like even my little sister doesn't have middle child syndrome. She's the older sister, because her and my little brother are a year apart, and me and them are 16 years apart. Okay. So we're siblings, but it's just different.
So many, my little brother Micah, we're 11 years apart.
Yeah. So there's a huge age gap. Oh, yeah. So you grew up kind of by yourself. And I always noticed that I've always wanted to have and be the center of attention. So being at home, the only people that really were there to listen to me were like my grandparents, and I was grateful for them, but they didn't really care what I was doing, and they're not really validating me for the things that I played on my video game or the cartoon that I saw. They don't watch cartoons. So I had to wait until I got to school in order to like, oh, did you see this? And if I saw a comedy special, I would memorize the lines and tell my friends, I heard this joke. Yeah. Like, and that it's very similar to like how I kind of wanted to get into comedy, just because I loved the feeling of making people laugh. But, you know, straight up, F that teacher who just discouraged you. That's so mean.
Well, she said, so... basically, and you know what? I should really let this go because it was high school, but I always think to myself, one thing that I have always told myself is like, I will fight for my dream.
Absolutely.
No matter what it is.
If you see her, it should be on site. You should physically assault. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, so I did something petty that I'm not proud of.
You pooped in her mailbox?
No. So... yeah, basically, I had done theater like all 4 years of high school. And like I said, I was shy. I've never been the type to be like, I'm the class clown. It was just more of like, I'm not going to speak a lot, but when I do speak, I want it to be funny.
Right.
And so she had casted me as an understudy whatever. And I was like, I'm not doing that because I know I deserve more than that. There's people who can't even act, and and whatever. It was this whole thing.
It sounds like ego, but you were still fighting for your dream.
Yeah, it was ego, but also I was like, it was a lot of favoritism. Like, she had favoritism, and so I had said I wasn't going to do it, and she had said, well, you're never going to be an actress. And like, then she had told other people, like, Janessa's stubborn attitude, and she doesn't even know how to, like, do this role and that. So she had, like, talked about how it was this whole thing, but basically...
she sounds also ego-driven and petty herself.
She is, and I don't know. I have teachers now who were the most supportive teachers that I've ever had. Like, my coach, I owe her so much because they're not easy on me by any means. They're really, really hard on me, but I really appreciate that. So yeah, it's different now. Now I'm like, I don't need to prove to anybody that I belong in this industry, but back then, just graduating and like being as young 19-year-old, I was like, maybe I shouldn't do acting, but then the stars just aligned and I was like, yeah, I should.
Well, I'm happy that you pursued it and you continued it, and I'm really happy that you found like a mentorship with people who actually resonated with you, because even if someone is a great actress or singer, comedian or writer, whatever the heck it is, if you don't vibe with them, if you don't resonate with them, if they're not willing to teach you, if they don't see what you see in yourself, they're not going to put in their effort. They're just going to be there to do their job, collect their paycheck, and move on.
Yeah.
But if you have someone who actually encourages you or does something little that's like super impactful, I have had a couple of teachers that have really made an impact on me, and I'm super grateful for them. Like, on my bookshelf, I have a book that was given to me by a teacher, and she wrote in it something like a sweet message, and she posted a picture of the class with me in the middle. Aww. And she's like, I wanted you to get a copy of this book for you because you were so enthusiastic about the story. I saw you spark up when we talked about the discussions. So she saw that in me.
Yeah.
And just that little tiny bit of moment of just niceness has stuck with me decades later, right?
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Things like that to me are so meaningful when you just have one mentor or one helper being like, yeah, you've got this, and her knowing that you really, was it a story like
it had
she
to
read to you all?
The book was called Bless Me Ultima, and it was one of the books that we were reading that semester. You know how we cover like 4 books or something, right? So it was like that, and it was about it was set in I believe Mexico or someplace that was very like Mexican heavy, and so I resonated with it. And then they were also doing like voodoo and witchcraft, and my dad does practices like palomonte, which is like a type of voodoo. You know the Santeria shops, right?
So yeah, is that the same that have you heard of, like, sorry if I sound dumb, but ojo?
Maybe.
Do you know what I'm talking
like the evil eye?
Yeah, so like, is he like, he practices like that?
So
not like that, but
not the bad stuff, but the protection
to get rid
stuff.
of it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And he said that's how he found about it. Sorry, Dad, for sharing your stuff, but you don't have Spotify, so you don't listen to my show. He supports it, but he just love you, Dad. He said that something happened to him when he was with my mom. At the time, they were super young. She was 19, 20. She just had me. He would have been 22, 23. And he said that he felt like off, like he was feeling sick and something was off. So he didn't know what was happening. No doctor could really figure out to him. So then one day, by chance, somebody, I think, told him like, hey, you should go get checked out by these people. And they found something, and they said somebody had done witchcraft on him. So he had done something to like cleanse himself of it. And this was back in like the 90s, right? So he was like, okay, cool. Got it done. Got it taken care of. All of a sudden, his ailments kind of went away. And he kind of really never thought about it until like a decade later. He kind of starts meeting people who are in that stuff, and he kind of ends up getting into the space, and he ends up going really heavy into it. And for what it is, I understand that it's spirituality, it's praising old gods and praising and giving thanks to all these deities that represent certain elements of the world. And I understand why he does it, and I understand that he gains from it, like he gains faith from it. And faith is like one of the strongest things on this planet, because if you truly
yeah.
believe that you are protected from all evil in life, if you are truly taken care of by another worldly deity that's way higher than you, then you go through life with a different feeling. You go through life like when tragedy happens, you're like, this happens for me, not to me. So I give him for that. But from an outside perspective looking in, looks crazy.
I actually think it's interesting.
Me too.
They just that's really cool.
I practice too. He indoctrinated me into it, and like I've performed ceremonies and rituals, and I've gotten to see because you're not allowed to go in unless you're part of it.
Oh,
so like I
okay.
got baptized in his church, so that way I could practice. So I got like my spirit name. I got like a bunch of other things.
That's so cool.
And I've seen some of the rituals and practices, and it's pretty intense. Like some rituals are very spiritual, and they call down spirits, and people look like, or they claim that they become possessed by these spirits, and they like are channeled through their bodies.
Wow.
And then they are like, but they're only doing it during the ceremony, in the same way of just saying like, oh, since our ancestors can't be here with us, like if you take my body in this space, come and join us, come celebrate with your loved ones, come celebrate with on Earth.
Okay.
And they'll do things for like protection, for good luck, for there's stuff if like you're in legal trouble, there's a god, there's a deity for that. If somebody's like out to get you or harm you, there's one for that. There's one for health. So if you're sick, there's one to pray to for that. So I understand it. It's faith, and it's
I like that though. So he thought they had discovered that somebody did witchcraft, like evil witchcraft on it. Well, can you say? Sorry, I don't want to.
It is witchcraft. Straight up, it is. It's brujeria. It's. But what he practices is like white magic. Or I know a lot of people are weird about white and black magic because of like racial contexts, but you know what the fuck I mean when I say white magic. It's like healing magic, practice magic. It's protection magic.
Right.
It's like, let's bring abundance into life. Let's make sure like, oh, I got paid really good this year. Some of that money is going to go back into the spirits, because every time I give to them, they give me more. They protect me. They blah, 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 blah. So they do a lot of that good magic. And then there is black magic, but black magic has the potential of backfiring. So you got to be really careful if you do it. If there is somebody out there that is looking to harm you and your family, there are things that they do in order to like spells and incantations to either ward them off or to have something happen to them before they attack you. But I don't think
white and black magic.
You've never heard of this?
No.
Magic is magic.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty cool.
There's good magic, there's bad magic. Like even in Star Wars, they have like the basic force, and then if you use lightning and stuff, that means you use like the evil force. You use like the dark side.
Gotcha.
But what my dad practices is just protection, love, health, and it serves him in the way that it does. In the same way that somebody goes to church every Sunday, he has a community, he has people. So, it as weird as it is, and that's why I resonated so much with the book, was because I was like, oh, my dad does this. Yeah. And in the book, there's like there's a medicine woman, and they're seen as witches. And there was some magic, black magic in the like the little boy, the main character gets sick. She heals him because like basically all medicine didn't help. And like all these shamans from like old worlds used to do this, like Native Americans used to do that stuff. And back when they thought like leeches and bloodletting was effective, and
oof,
right?
Leeches, yeah.
Just whatever gets the bad blood out. It's just like imagine you're in the 1700s, electricity's not invented, you're in the prairie, and they're just like, yo, you got demons in your blood, we gotta get them out.
Leeches.
Here's some leeches.
Have fun, go out back.
Yeah, go sit in the teepee and just fucking dunk your feet and hands in them. We'll call you out in like 2 days. And you come out, and you're just like, you look like a raisin. You're just, all the blood is out of your body.
That's horrible. Yeah. Those scare me. I really don't like bugs like that.
You don't like bugs?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine anybody would, but.
I mean, and then you move to Texas where they're just everywhere.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was born here, but even, you know what I found out the other day? That tarantulas shed. So it looks like when they like come out of the first shell, it looks like there's 2 tarantulas.
Right.
It looks dead. I didn't know that. Did
like
you know
molting?
that?
Yeah, I knew they molted.
Yeah, yeah, that's what the word is. I'm over here saying shed. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
And
weird.
I don't like that.
And then I've seen people like take out the molted carcasses and it just looks like a whole spider.
Yeah.
And then the scarier part of that is that the remaining spider is larger. That's why it molted.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, that's terrible. Because if
Yeah.
spiders or if any insect was the size of a puppy, it would murder everything.
That's a horrible thought.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Because they're so small and they're so strong for their
Right.
size in comparison, and they have weird superpowers.
Yeah.
But because they're tiny, we can squash them and get away from it, and we still die from them.
Yeah. If they were like Cinnabon size,
Oh,
we'd
death.
be in trouble.
Death. Just outstanding death.
Yeah. That's not, no offense, but in a world I want to be in with bugs like that.
Yeah, giant bugs.
Yeah.
Like some of them freak me out. I saw the other day a grasshopper. Was it a grasshopper? It was a mantis, and it was eating a wasp. And
No.
yeah, and it was casually just eating it as the wasp was trying to escape, and I was like,
Have
oh,
a snack.
I don't know, man. As dangerous as life seems, according to the news, I feel like if we were out in the animal kingdom, it would be much worse. I feel like I'm definitely somebody who would have gotten eaten by a lion by now.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. We don't have it that bad compared to if we were out there. I wouldn't make it. I like animals to an extent because I don't know, I get scared of a lot of things, but reptiles, nope.
I just feel like we live in such a comfortable place in
Yeah.
time, and there's like the most amount of complaining that has ever
Yeah.
existed.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get your Starbucks order fast enough, if your phone isn't charged, if you didn't get like, I catch myself complaining constantly,
Yeah.
and I have to check myself and then
Right.
practice gratitude instead. Because
I-
there's times where I'm just like, I'm upset that I'm doing something. And then I go outside and I see somebody digging a hole in
Yeah.
101 degrees. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, that's a job too.
Exactly. I totally relate to that. I saw you have this Jordan Peterson book, and I was going to make a comment about it because
He's an interesting fellow.
he is. But one thing that I have taken from him is to practice gratitude, because it's not like I have ever been the type to be ungrateful, but this past year, there's just been so many things that have been thrown at me. And I think that's like one of the ways that I've really stayed strong and like kept working and just
Right.
progressing is like,
Practicing
it sounds
gratitude.
stupid, but yeah, some days if I catch myself like complaining about everything, I literally write down a list of like, this is what I'm thankful for today.
Yeah.
And it just
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, because there's just so many things I feel like to
I-
be thankful for.
I try and do my best to practice
Yeah.
that as well. In the morning, I write down, all 5 things that I'm grateful for. And for a while, I was jumping on TikTok and every day just being like, these are the 5 things that I'm grateful for. And it really is like a muscle that there is a specific part in your brain, and I forget what the name of it is. But it's the thing that drives attention and focus. So when we choose to focus and kind of have something in the forethought of our mind, it's what our brain is like attracted to. For example, if you want a red Tesla and all of a sudden you want a red, and you keep thinking about red Teslas, you'll start seeing red Teslas everywhere. And they were always there,
Yeah.
but now because your brain is so aware of it, it's now seeing them everywhere. I had the same phenomenon when I pierced my lip. I was like, oh, this is so unique. And I
Yeah.
just got my lip pierced, met tons of people with lip piercings.
Really?
And I was like, oh, and they're like, yeah, I've had this one for years. They're like, oh, you got yours done? I've had mine for this long.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so these have been around forever and I've seen them, but now that I have one, I am I'm seeing them everywhere.
Wow.
So when we practice gratitude or we do something where we're looking for things that are good in life, when we see them or when bad things happen, at the forefront of our thoughts, we have gratitude and positivity. So it makes the bad times feel less bad,
Yeah.
and it makes the good times feel great and be acknowledged.
Yeah.
It's not just the acting gig that we get that we celebrate, or the role that we just got, or the show that we got put on. But did you get out of bed today? Did you make your bed? Did you shower? Did
Yeah.
you do the thing that you said you were going to do? Did you exercise? All these tiny little things are mundane and boring. But if we look at them of like, I'm so grateful that I have a working body. I'm so grateful that I ate today. I'm so grateful that I this. You look at life in a way that's just more comfortable.
Right.
We're in a place that has a little bit more meaning.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're just on a void. We're living on a space rock.
Totally.
Heading towards a void.
I agree with you. And like little things that we may take for granted, like other people don't get to do them, if that makes sense.
100%.
So it's like, yeah, every day I'm like, I like to run, and I'm like, I have both my feet and I can run, and I can brush my teeth. Yeah, I can get out of bed. Like I have the ability to do all these things. So
and you should remind yourself.
There's not much to complain about.
You should remind yourself, like, all those little things. And that's something that I think Jordan Peterson talks about. I've also heard it from multiple places. But my mom used to tell me this quote. It says, I complained about not having shoes until I met the man with no feet.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Right. So you got to take inventory of, like, what you have and be willing to look at it from a place of, like, oh, this is good. I'm doing good.
Right.
Like, even when I feel the most stressed out, I look around me and I'm like, I was sleeping in my car 3 years ago. Yeah. Like I had my bank account in the negative. Yeah. And now I don't. Right.
Now you have a beautiful wife and home.
Beautiful wife and home.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was dark. It was terrible. It was a year of growth.
Right.
But geez, did it feel terrible to go through, right?
I think like one of my best friends, he always tells me you have to get to like the breakdown before you get to the breakthrough. And I always just think any opportunity to try to grow as a human, or even if it sucks, is so... I'm thankful for that in itself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, that makes sense.
Yeah, something sucks in the time, but then whenever I get out of it, I'm going to be a much better person.
And that is such a better mindset to have than somebody who's just like gloom and doom everything. Even on days where nothing is necessarily bad, they're just like, everything sucks, everything's dumb, everything. It's just like, okay, why? But that's because you choose to it, because everything is neutral. Everything just is. Right? And it's you that puts the meaning behind it. You're the one that makes this negative. You're sitting in traffic. Okay, cool. I have some extra time to listen to this audiobook. I can listen to some music. You know what? I'm sitting down. My air condition works. Tight. Yeah. I have a car. Isn't that cool? I'm not biking to work.
Right.
But everyone's like, oh, I'm in fucking traffic and this person cut me off. And
that's I hate traffic. Every time I'm like, why? But I got in a car accident a couple months ago, and like, ever since then, when I've been stuck in traffic, I'm like, okay, at least I got through that without getting hit.
Right. Badly. You have something to be grateful for.
Yeah. But Austin traffic.
A fun meditation that I learned from Tim Ferriss's book is this thing where you imagine two people in your head. And you say, I wish this person love and happiness. I wish this person love and happiness. And that's it. You don't have to say it out loud. You can just say it in your head. They recommended to do that at least 2 times per hour. If you're working in an office, you can just, every time you see somebody, you look at them, you imagine them in your head, and you go, I wish this person love and happiness. And you're just spreading that love out there. You know, no one has to know. Mm-hmm. It's a silent meditation. It takes 10 seconds because you're just thinking of 2 people. And like, I'm thinking of you right now, and I wish you love and happiness, right? And then I'm thinking of my dad. I wish him love and happiness. Yeah. Done. And meditation's done. If you're doing that all day, every day, where you're actively thinking of people, and like that's where your mindset is focused on, is focusing on like spreading that love and positivity. You could do it in traffic, or you see somebody in a window, you see them picking their nose or drinking their coffee or texting, and you could be like, I wish this person love and happiness. I wish this person love and happiness.
That's a good thing to start doing during traffic. Everywhere, but in traffic especially.
One of my friends who was recently on the podcast, Cameron, he said that he waves at people and he tries to get a smile from them. So he'll be there and he'll be like, hi. And and he's like, if he gets one back, it's like bonus points. Yeah. It's like, hell yeah.
It's a nice little surprise.
Right.
Yeah. I think that, I just believe in being a kind human.
Good. As you should.
There's like times where it's really easy to be all pissed and just like, fuck them and fuck that and blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know. It's like, what's the point of that? Why not? That's such a fun thing that I'm gonna start doing is wishing people love and happiness just in my mind.
Yeah.
And
If you truly believe in like manifestation, the law of attraction and all that good stuff, the idea is like you get in what you put out.
Yeah.
So if all day I'm just putting out anger and upset and tired and complaining, then the only people that are going to come around me are going to be like, dude, you're always like upset, tired, and angry. Like, what the heck? But if like my vibe, somebody said, I give off the energy of like a sidekick in a Disney movie. And I was like, cool. That's usually like a fan favorite. Like some people.
You're so nice though.
Yeah,
you do.
And it's honestly because like my thoughts and my attitude are just so fucking dark, and they're just so negative, and like I do my best to kind of fight what comes naturally,
right?
Which is that like doom and gloom and complain and anger. I don't know where it comes from. Been there my whole life.
Yeah.
But now I'm transmuting that energy into something positive, and doing my best is like I don't want anyone to feel this way, so I'm not gonna make you feel bad just because I'm feeling bad. I hate that. I hate when somebody.
Yeah, when someone's not. That's one thing that I have, like, tried to never do in my life, because my mom would always tell me, like, treat others how you want to be treated. But I think, like, insulting someone or, like, talking about someone, every time I find myself wanting to do that, I recognize that it comes from jealousy.
And ego and like all the negative
anger,
things.
Yeah,
and
I'm
anger.
like, fix yourself, bitch.
100%.
Before you go, I read this book, really good book. It's called The Artist Way. And I talk about it a lot because it truly changed my life.
Joe Rogan recommended the book.
He did?
Yeah.
Finally, we'll start getting the recognition.
It's on my to read list.
Do you know what was it, like an older episode?
Probably. I don't know. Out of the million he's done.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%
well,
sure.
I just wonder because, I mean, this book, actually, you asked me what it got me into everything. This book had a lot to do with, actually, I don't even think I would be doing stand-up, or I don't think I would have produced any of the films I have or anything if it were not for this book. But in this book, she says, anger is a friend. It's not a nice friend, but you need to listen to it. And then it states as like, okay, if you're angry, like, what's going on with you? And I don't know. I realize that with myself. If I'm angry, I'm people-pleasing. I'm not staying true to my word with myself. Just so many things.
Yeah, you're not present. You're very, like, caught up in the moment. You're very stuck in a space.
Yeah.
And I feel like my anger all resonates, like, in the middle of my forehead. Like, if I'm upset, this is where I feel the most amount of tension.
Oh, interesting. And that's the only spot that you feel it?
Pretty much. It's almost like almost like a tight front headache. And that's just where it appears in my body. It'll appear in other places for, some people it'll be in their fists or in their arms or, in their chest. But yeah, for me, it's like my whole philosophy is that I don't want anybody to feel the same way that I'm feeling. So I want to do my best to check myself at the door if I am coming in with it in an attitude. And if I do complain, I come back and be like, hey, I know I complained. Turn myself around. Let's really do this. And like I'll call myself out and I'll be like, hey, I apologize for complaining. I'm sorry that I complained.
Right.
Let's make this an adventure. Let's do this thing. Like my whole thing the other day was I was like bitching and moaning because of it's return to office at my job.
You're going back to the office.
I'm going back, and I don't want to go back, and because we're like we have a building downtown, we have to pay for parking, traffic, and just like I don't want to do it. And so like I was super upset, and my boss is a tremendous leader. She was there. She's all like, whatever complaints you got, say them out loud. Go ahead, tell me them. Like she held space for us, and everyone's just like blah, right?
Yeah.
And after we got it out, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, man, there's people that dig holes for a living in the hot sun. Like I have to go into the office 2 times a week. What the fuck am I complaining about, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like a checking yourself, like, and then it's back to gratitude. It's back to like,
totally.
I'm grateful for the thing that I have, the position that I have. I'm grateful for the income that I have. I'm grateful for, solid work and recognition, a great leader. I'm on a great team. And then from there, it's like, okay, I apologize for my mistakes and my behavior that were completely ego driven, that were completely like who am I to complain about the dumbest thing, right? And again, checking myself and then moving forward. Hey, y'all, let's make this an adventure. I don't want to go back, but I would love to see y'all, and I can't wait to collaborate with y'all, and I can't wait to see you in office. And who knows, maybe I'll come up with some material by bumping into people. People are weird.
Oh yeah, you're bound
People
to.
are so weird.
You're totally bound to. It's a hard thing, I think. not to be like ego driven.
Oh yeah.
I am like breaking that right now. And
It's a work in progress. It's a lifelong work in progress.
Yeah. I am like working on just healing the inner child in myself.
Super important.
Yeah. And honestly, like I'm thankful because even on the days where I'm like doing this work on myself sucks because I'm realizing things about myself that I don't like. And I'm like, but now I realize that and I have the power to change them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's crazy, like, how destructive you can be when you're ego-driven.
100%.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, but we've been just getting into, like, really awesome conversations about, like, attitudes and thinking. Tell me about your podcast. What made you...
My podcast, yeah.
What made you decide to start one, and why did you title it, What is Wrong with You? That's such a strong question.
Okay, so I started it because I listen to a lot of podcasts. Like, I listen to yours. I listen to Katie's. Like, I listen to Brandon's, who produces my podcast. There's a lot that and then I listen to, like, Joe Rogan and, like, people like that. And I really just wanted a way to talk to people and talk to them about their projects and things and network. And also, like I said, I'm a shy person, so that's one thing for me is I'm really doing my best to come out of my shell because I know I'm like awkward, but I'm like, you can embrace it or you can just stay in your shell forever, which will not be beneficial. So what is wrong with you is kind of more of a joke because I had started off by originally asking people what their favorite musician and their favorite movie is, because I feel like you can tell a lot about a person by knowing those two things. And so, yeah, I had wanted to be a therapist before I ever got into anything involving art. So I'm like, that is kind of more of a joke where, like, I can figure out what's wrong with you by talking to you for an hour.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you can tell a lot about a person by what their favorite artists are. Like, when Spotify Reels came out and everyone was sharing those stuff, I made fun of, like, if you looked at my top 5 artists, the thought pattern was, I'm sad, I'm God, God is a woman, I'm horny, and, like, I'm angry. and it was, like, Movements. I love that band. And then I also was listening last year a lot to, like, Kendrick Lamar, and then Drake, and then I forget the last two.
Yeah.
But it was just funny because you would see people share their reels, and I'm like, you're sad, you like raves, you do drugs, you're white.
Yeah. Yeah, you have anger issues. No, I'm kidding. Not you. I just meant like people.
Oh, I for sure have anger issues. Who doesn't?
Yeah, you really can. I'll have to have you on the pod very soon.
Love to be on.
Figure out what's wrong with you. But yeah, it's just fun conversations. I really appreciate it. Brandon produces it, and he's great. Really hard worker, and I've loved all the clips and stuff he's made. So yeah,
they're fun. I like seeing them on Instagram and on the reels and stuff. It's really cool.
Super fun. It's been a fun way to like just make content too. I don't know. I enjoy making content.
Yeah, and you're really good at it. Like, I've seen you post clips of you practicing your reads for different acting roles, and you've been landing gigs left and right, which is awesome.
Thank you.
And I'm really proud of you for just kind of getting out there, because I see you in stories and I see you posted on places where you're like, you're putting in the work, and I can admire somebody who's really dedicated to their craft, who's willing to put in the time and effort in order to improve themselves. And it seems like you have that mindset and that tenacity to do so. Even though you recognize your own flaws, you don't let them stop you.
Thank you. Yeah, that really means a lot. It really does.
Before we wrap up, is there any kind of message that you think that more people need to hear, whether it's addressed to people who are kind of pursuing their dreams, starting off, somebody who's just kind of in the game and kind of stuck, or even somebody who just recently got told that they'll never be an actor? Like, what message do you think more people need to hear?
I would say basically what I said earlier, like, if you have a dream, just, like, don't ever give up on it. And I think, like, I have a long way to go. I have a lot of work to put in, but I think that's part of it. Like, enjoy the hard work in the process, even if it sucks. Because you really don't know, like, what kind of things are going to come for you and what opportunities will come your way if you just stay on your path and keep chugging along. I don't know if that's necessarily, like, a great message to give out, but I think that that's what I would say, is just, like, keep going, keep working really, really hard.
I think it's a great message. A lot of people think that, the idea is to, like, go viral. You make one piece of content and that's it. That's the thing that's going to make you, Drake level famous. It's like, nah, dude, you may have that opportunity, but you have to then maintain that opportunity. Right. And the way by doing that is to work on your craft, be undeniable.
Yeah.
And never be relentless.
Yeah.
Don't give up on whatever dream it is. Yeah. Even if you think it's silly, if it brings meaning to your life.
Yeah.
And it brings you purpose, and it gives you some sort of escape from the mundane or the minutia of life. Then who am I to judge and say it's wrong or right?
Exactly.
Just do what you love, but continue doing it. Don't give up on it, because you would much rather continue to do something in pursuit of something and fail than to never have done it and then die with the regret.
Right. Well, because also, like, sorry, I know we're trying to wrap it up, but
no, you're awesome. Keep talking.
This is what a teacher had told me, and I think about this every time I bomb, and every time I'm driving home from, even if it's a silly open mic, or anytime I want to give up on anything that I want to do, I'm like, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it, right?
You gotta do what separates the good from the great.
Yeah, that should have been my message all along. But yeah, I think that's what I gotta say.
Both are total valid messages, and they are a beautiful place to end the podcast. Thank you so much for being my friend and for coming on and letting us pick your brain for a little bit. This is a lovely conversation, and I'm so grateful to have you and Katie and a bunch of other people in my life. Y'all are awesome.
I'm so thankful for you.
I love being around wonderful women who are just like doing things and doing amazing stuff. Like, so heck yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Heck yeah. Tell people where they can find you and how they can support you.
Cool. So you can support me by listening to my podcast. It is on Spotify and YouTube. It is called What Is Wrong With You? And I'm also on Instagram at Janessa Marie _. I also have a short film on YouTube titled Molly, and I have another short film titled Boy's Life. My YouTube page is just Janessa Carlin. Simple enough. And yeah.
Awesome.
And comedy shows I always post them on my Instagram.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I hope that the listeners resonate with you and they listen to your podcast and they go out and support you, because you're an awesome person. And I really hope that you achieve all the things that you set your mind to. And we'll talk again in 20, 30 years and be like, oh yeah, we crushed it.
Hell yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Carpe Natem Podcast. If you love this episode, please consider leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Music or iTunes. It takes 30 seconds for you, but for us, it helps spread positivity to more people during these chaotic times. It helps build a community, and it makes me smile from ear to ear. Speaking of community, we have a Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Carpe Natem. Just answer the 3 questions to get access to some extra motivation and inspiration for your timeline. If you would like to support this podcast, screenshot this episode and share this to your story. Tag me at Carpe Natem 114. That's going to be my handle across all platforms, including TikTok, if you'd like to give me a follow. If you haven't already, please rate us and subscribe on Spotify or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. And lastly, you can find all episodes, linked to resources, and opportunities for coaching and mentoring from me at carpenatem114.com. I cannot thank you enough for spending part of your day with me. You are all rock stars taking the necessary steps to be your best self, willing to do whatever it takes, and ready to grab life by the butt cheeks. So until next time, this is Nate Hoya-Reynoso signing off.